Hi, my name is Brandon, and I am here today to discuss cameras. Recently at a local thrift store, I picked up this, which is the Brownie Target Six-16, which shoots a 6:16 film, which is no longer in production. And my thought was, I want to shoot this camera. So, what do? Well, I opened the camera, and first I found that there was still a roll of Verichrome Pan 6:16 film, which I went ahead and developed, which had some very interesting pictures on it. But I no longer need this paper in order to make this camera work with the film that I want to use. But I do need this spool. Why do I need this spool? Because this spool is from 120 film, which is commonly available now. And you can see there's a size difference. But I need to get this film to work in this spool. Now how, you may ask, do I do this? I found that it is very easy to take the spool and add two little zip ties onto it. So I take a zip tie, wrap it around my reel, just like that, and I tighten it down. And when you tighten that, you want to tighten it off of your take-up slot, which is right here, because it will bend these. So take it up to the end before you tighten it down, and then tighten it up. And it does slide freely. I mean, it does take a little bit of effort, but it does slide up and down. And then you just clip off your extra, just like that. And you'll notice there is still just a little bit of difference in the spools. So you'll add one more zip tie onto it. Just like so. And like I said, tighten it off of the take-up slot. You'll tighten that down. Slide it down a little ways. Make sure it's tight. Yeah. And clip this off right about there. And get this out of the way. And then you'll slide that all the way down to the end. So you'll have them looking just like this. Next, this is to be done in complete darkness. You'll take a roll of 120 film. This is just a test roll that I use. It's a Fuji Neopan 100. But you'll take, in complete darkness, like I said, an empty spool, which is your 120 spool, as well as a new roll, which this isn't new, but a new roll. And if it goes into your changing bag. But one thing I like, and it gets to become a pain with Fuji, is inside their spool, you'll see this little tab right here. This little tab locks up, and it will hold this firm for you, which results in tears like this. I have set aside one spool to do my changing, and I went and took a knife and cut out that centerpiece. But for the example today, I'm just going to use what I have here. So inside a complete darkness in a changing bag or dark room or something like that, you'll take and transfer this roll of film from your 120, your new roll, onto your empty spool, 120 also. And you'll just roll that on. There you go. And you can see there's where the film starts, right there. And we'll roll that up on here. Just like that. So now what you have is basically an exposed roll as far as the labeling is concerned. But you're still in darkness, so it hasn't been exposed yet. And you can see this is the reel I typically use. You'll notice that little pin on the inside has been clipped down a little bit so it won't grab it. So now that you have it transferred over to a different roll showing exposed, you'll grab your 6/16 spool, which has your 2 zip ties on it. You'll take and do exactly what you just did. You'll take that and you'll roll it on here, just like this. But this is where practice comes in handy, because you'll notice in a little bit my film starts coming up. Well, my film is ready to roll up on the reel and not where I need it. So you'll take this down and you'll have to start it underneath the paper just a little bit, and you're good to go. And you'll just tighten that up and roll your film. And you will notice it's starting to buckle just a little bit right there. That's fine. Just kind of let it go, and you'll get to where it's taped on, which means you're just about done. And there you have it. A 6/16 roll of 120 film. And now you'll take your empty spool, which goes in the bottom as your new take-up spool. And one important thing, and I didn't do it, is make sure that your zip ties are on the same side. Now I like my zip ties on the same side as where the shutter is, and I'll show you why here in just a second. So you take your spool and put it in there. And one thing I do, and I don't know if this is proper or not, but I take and I feed my spool underneath this little bar, which just adds a little bit of tension to the film for me. So I'm going to feed it underneath that bar and grab it. Maybe. Yeah, there we go. Grab it and pull it down. Just like that. See underneath that bar? Take it and it wraps around the back of the camera and comes into the take-up spool. Just like that. You might want to give it just a wind or two to get it started. Pull it down. And you'll want your start arrow right along this edge right here. And take it and install it into your camera. Push this little knob in to lock in, and then you wind. And the reason why I put the zip ties on this side, which is the same side where the shutter's at, is that way I can see my numbers in this little window. So I'm going to advance till I see the number 1. Which will be right about there. See, I have the number 1, kind of see it right there. And then I'm ready to take my first frame. And then here's the important part: when you're messing with these kind of cameras, they're not set up, or this kind of film in this kind of camera is not set up to show you the accurate number that you're on. So what you'll need to do is, I kind of messed around with it a little bit and figured out what works for me in this camera as far as the numbering goes. And I found that if I go in increments of 3, that'll work a lot better for me as far as proper framing goes. So if I shot number 1, my next frame I will shoot will be number 3 or 4, depending. Usually I go to number 3, and then from 3 to 6, from 6 to 9, 9 to 12, and 12 to 15. And that will give me 5 shots on a roll of your standard 120 film. So that is how to bring a camera from the 40s into the year 2011. So if you have any questions, post them below, down here somewhere, and I'll do my best to answer them. These are just standard zip ties. You can pick them up at any hardware store. Just make sure you look at your roll comparisons as far as the 6-16 and the 120, so you kind of have an idea. These are pretty thin little zip ties. You can buy bigger ones that will allow you to just use one. So if you have a friend or some friends that are doing the same thing, they can use whatever zip ties you have left over. So, like I said, comments below. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll do my best to help you out. Thanks. Bye.